Introduce yourself.
Larry Hamm, Chairman, People's Organization for Progress.
Today is Saturday, November 7th. You just got finished making a rousing speech to this assemblage of union employees and grassroots activists who are out here in front of the federal building in downtown Newark, celebrating the fact that Joe Biden seemed to have won his presidency.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you about the rapper Ice Cube, movie star Ice Cube, who has been getting a lot of flack because they said he met with Trump and and like seemed to be negotiating with him. And some people say that they used him as a prop to get African American voters or the rappers to vote for him so they could say, oh, people are on our side.
Yes.
There's even been rumors that there's like 17% of the black vote that went to Trump, which I don't really believe. That's a high number.
Yeah, that's a high number.
And so, but in terms of a guy like Ice Cube, who's started off in Compton, NWA, rapper who once upon a time was known as the nigga you love to hate, I want to say feeling the desperation that he had to go and negotiate with a guy like that. I mean, what do you think about that? And should he be, how should he be viewed? Should he be vilified? Because there's some people saying he got used.
Well, I think he did get used. I mean, I think it was, whether consciously or unconsciously, it was part of the overall strategy that Trump had to try to peel off a few percentage points of the black vote. I mean, it's clear that Trump had a strategy. This was an announced kind of strategy. And yes, Trump did get some black voters. And in fact, he got a few percent more of the black woman vote than he did the last time around. And he did get a few percent more of the black male vote than he got last time around. But keep in mind, 90% of black women voted for Trump and 80% of black men voted for Trump.
Against Trump.
90% of black women voted against Trump and 80% of black men voted against Trump. Those are the two highest of all the demographics. There are no other demographics. People talk about, well, only 80% of black men voted for Trump. Well, over half of white men voted for Trump, so they still are the highest. And the Biden administration, they're going to have to respond if they want to get reelected, because just as more people voted in this election than any previous election, more people are going to be holding the Biden-Harris administration accountable. More people are going to be watching them to see that they delivered. Remember, Biden was almost out. He lost Iowa. He lost New Hampshire.
The South State.
He was out until Jim Clyburn saved him, got him South Carolina, and as a result of that, he won the South and he was back in the race. So he owes a great deal to the black community, and I hope he will deal with the issues and the needs of the black community.
I want to ask you this question in terms of, as I've heard it said before, that in terms of the rapper Karis once said that the problem with the challenge for African Americans is that of all these other different groups, they can always point. We can point to Africa, but Africa's made of tribes and countries, and it's different. So African Americans, we're the only group who have really come of age and within this American system, this democratic system. And so it's a maturation process. And so in terms of that, the stage of that process, are we beyond symbolic victories and symbolic things? Like, Jesse Jackson ran, he's a black man, he ran. That was a good symbol, right?
No, he wasn't. The Jackson campaign was a serious campaign. It wasn't symbolic. I mean, Jesse Jackson was a symbol, but his campaign was serious. And I know because I was in the Jackson campaign in '84 and I was in the Jackson campaign in '88. I would agree with you on this, that folks are going to be looking for results.
Right. And policy. I mean, in terms of saying results, we mean policy.
Right. Folk, not just the policy. They want the results. I mean, people are suffering. They need relief. So Biden and Harris are going to have to hit the ground running to bring relief, to bring COVID relief. We're getting ready to have an eviction mortgage tsunami.
People been out of work for
housing relief, unemployment relief, medical relief. People are going to need relief. And Biden and Harris are going to have to come forward with a serious economic program implement this program, not just a policy, not just a law, but implement a program to, in the immediate sense, relieve people's suffering, and then in the long range sense, try to put some things in place that will actually go towards solving these problems.
Because, you know, Ice Cube's point was that he had, you know, Trump promised him a platinum plan where he would invest so many millions or billions of dollars within the black community and black businesses.
Why would anyone believe anything that Donald Trump would say? Why would you believe a man that said he did more for black people than Abraham Lincoln? That's bombast right there. If you ever been to a carnival, you know, the guy, the circus barker, this tonic will solve all your problems. You know, that's Donald Trump. The minute he said that, everybody should have been finished with him. You know, I mean, why would you try to deal with the man who was endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan? That was endorsed right now when everybody's protesting against police brutality. That's been endorsed by every union. I mean, every police union in the country. But Trump is gone. What we have to do now is fight to make sure that he does not, because there's still some things that he could do to overturn the outcome. He could try to interfere with the Electoral College.
Force it to go to the Supreme Court.
He could use the Supreme Court, but, you know, I think the good news is that by finally declaring, see, the longer that they didn't call the election, the more of an atmosphere of uncertainty there was. And Trump could use that, was using that.
Right.
Now that he's declared, it's going to be very difficult for the Supreme Court to try to subvert the outcome. And remember, the results are much clearer than Gore v. Bush.
Yes.
Biden will have won the popular vote by more than 4 million votes. He's won the Electoral College. So it's going to be very difficult for the Supreme Court, but there's still some things that could be done with the Electoral College because Republicans are in control of state legislatures and they could make some moves with the Electoral College. But I would hope that they won't do that. You know, I would hope that they would let us have a peaceful transition. But if not, we're going to fight them. We're going to fight until the Trump administration is gone.
I want to say two things. What's been going through my mind repeatedly since this whole thing was, a lot of times we forget that it's referred to, this American democracy, as the American experiment, right? Because there's never been a democracy like this ever, and it really is an experiment. So we're like a work in progress, right?
I agree with that. It's a work in progress.
And so you talk about, you know, these Republicans who are in charge of the Electoral College, you know, any experiment, you put the wrong ingredients in, you mix the wrong things, you can mess up the experiment.
Right.
And that's what you're talking about, correct?
Right. Well, you know, the problem is that from the beginning, our political system had contradictions in it. It was constructed in such a way to benefit the wealthy few.
Yep.
From the beginning. That's why we got an electoral college.
Yes.
Because remember, the only people that could vote in the beginning were white, substantial property owners. It wasn't even like you owned a mule.
We're talking about the 1%, but the 13 colonies.
Right, that's exactly, the 1% of 13 colonies. You know, and Trump has been using everything that's legal. Like, he hasn't done
nothing illegal.
Illegal. He's using the courts. He's using the electoral college. You know.
He has very good lawyers.
Right. So the contradictions within the system are heightened. And you know, like after this is done, you know, for instance, we need to abolish the electoral college. That's a reform that we need. It's an interim reform. It would take a while because you would need roughly 38 states, I think, to ratify.
I take that seriously hearing it from you, Larry Hamm, because you know I take you seriously.
Right.
But the problem is a lot of people want to abolish things, but they don't have any alternatives.
Well, there's no alternative. Abolish the electoral college and have direct election of the president. Why do we need anything other than the popular vote? Why?
What about what will people say? Well, we don't want the rich cities to determine the fates of
the president is elected by the whole country, by the cities and the farms. So we should have direct election of the president, like other countries do. This electoral college is only in place to give those the 1%, as you would say, a chance to subvert the popular will, because this question was debated by the founders in the beginning. Should people elect the president, or should the Congress elect the president? And then there was people on the far right, like Alexander Hamilton, who wanted Washington to be king.
Yeah.
You know, there were people that wanted a monarchy.
Yeah.
You know, and they opted for this. I mean, how can 538 people subvert the will of 140 million people?
Oh, I guess we're about to see, huh?
You know, come on.
But then I want to ask you.
So listen, we need to abolish the Electoral College. We need an amendment to the Constitution that guarantees every citizen's right to vote and protects, guarantees and protects. That's why we got all this voter suppression, because the Constitution really does not expressly guarantee people's right to vote. We have laws, but the Constitution does not do that.
Right.
We need a 28th Amendment to the Constitution that guarantees and protects every citizen's right to vote.
Okay.
And once you get that, it will be harder for them to do these voter suppression things.
And then you mentioned, the other question was about voting. When prior to this general election, earlier this year in May, we had the New Jersey primaries, and I don't believe the mail-in ballot system. It was in the middle of the height of the pandemic. I don't think it went too well. I don't think it was as efficient as it could have been. I had very serious doubts coming into this general election. It seemed to have worked out better than I expected, and better than you expected. You know, I'm glad that at the end of the day, they opened the polls up, even though it was lined, because I was very dubious and skeptical of just the mail-in balloting system on its own.
Well, it has its problems. You know, people thought vote by mail would be a panacea, but it's something that had to be done in light of the COVID, you know, because we didn't want to bring millions of people together and spread the COVID, you know.
Right.
But there's a lot of work that has to be done on our voting system in this country. We really have a medieval and Byzantine system of voting in this country. First of all, we don't have one national system. We got 50 systems. Each state has its own system of voting. That's a problem right there. So in the years ahead, we're going to have to reform our voting system. We're going to have to make it more uniform. We need a constitutional amendment that guarantees every citizen's right to vote. You know, there's a lot of work that has to be done.
Playing devil's advocate, I would say that sounds like centralization of power. And, you know, people who are scared of fascism, who are scared of these other things, you know, because you said, you know, there's this national policy that covers all the states. Should they be fearful? Or is it just
We should always be fearful. We should always be watchful.
Nice.
What did Ben Franklin say? And when he was asked, do we have a government? The woman said, do we have a democracy? Benjamin Franklin said, yes, if we can keep it.
That was great. Exactly. Right? Like I said, we go back to this American experiment idea.
Because it's all about citizenship. You know, citizenship is more than voting. It's about participating in the democratic process.
Yeah.
And what we've done, we've turned voting into a kind of consumerism. You go to the store, you buy something, it's done. You go and vote, it's done.
Right.
But really, citizenship is much more than that. And we have to bring that. We don't even teach civics in the high schools anymore.
I'm glad you made that distinction, because citizenship carries responsibilities, right?
Exactly.
And that's also why we have public schools, because an educated electorate and citizens is better than non.
Right.
But I'm glad you put that in there. That is responsibility.
Yes.
You know, this democracy is not free.
Yes.
Freedom ain't free.
Yes. But you know, we gotta go beyond even saying responsibility. We gotta say what it is. It's participation, participatory. You know, it's like those Norman Rockwell paintings. There's one where they're having a town hall meeting and one guy is standing up speaking his piece. You know, people got to participate. They got to go to school board meetings and city council meetings and town hall meetings and vote and go to political rallies and forums. It's life. And I think that our American culture has been divested of political life. And I don't think that that's an accident, because if there's no political life, it's easier for people who run the society to run it the way they want to. Because, see, participation means it's going to be a bumpy, rocky road.
Exactly.
And that the people on top might not get what they want. You know, that was one of the great advances of politics, was universal suffrage. Why was there such resistance to universal suffrage? Because it meant that working people, regular people, might actually come together and put together a government that would serve them and not the wealthy.
Yeah.
You know, but they found a way. See, that's what genius is. You know, you find a way that even with universal suffrage, the masses still don't control their government.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times the opposition, we you get painted as ignorant and rednecks and stuff. But listen, there are a lot of very smart people working against the will of the people, right? I mean, they sit down, they had these think tanks. They're not dumb, right? They went to Harvard like Obama too. They're very smart.
That's right.
And they're working on ways to keep their power and take yours away, correct?
That's right. And so, you know, we have a lot to do, you know. But today is a day to celebrate. You gotta be happy sometimes. You know, you can't be mad all the time. So today we're happy, we're celebrating, you know, they're buying, and we go back to work tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow, on Monday, right? Today's Saturday. You'll be back out here again on Monday, yes?
Well, we'll be here for Justice Monday, on every Monday, against police brutality, yes.
No rest for a revolutionary, huh?
No rest. I mean, we rest, you know, but, you know, this is a critical moment. This is like the election of 1860, Lincoln.
Yes.
1864, 1932, Franklin Roosevelt, 2008, Barack Obama. This is like that. This is a critical moment.
Wow.
You know, and you know, it's going to be interesting to see how do we proceed from here. How do we proceed from here? How do we proceed from January the 19th forward? You know, because a lot of people want to go back to normal. But normal is what got us here.
Yes.
You know, normal is what got us here.
Yes, status quo is not working.
A return to normality is not really what needs to happen. We need to chart a new course for the country. You know, and we're going to have to hold Biden and Harris accountable just like we held everybody else accountable. You know, this is very important, you know, very important, because the tendency is going to be now to go back to what was, but that's my greatest fear, that we'll go back to what was, you know.
All right, I will let you go now. I want